wrestling fans, and welcome to 10 Count. I'm Steve Paul, but on today's edition, I should have brought my magic wand with me, but I have Candice Michelle with me. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, and if no one knows the behind the scenes, this interview has been building and building and building. It feels like 3 years now, but it probably only was like 3-4 months, but we have made it. We've arrived. Recently, even in Impact Wrestling, we had Tara, aka Victoria, come back into the wrestling world, and everyone was kind of shocked of why she hasn't been in the WWE all these years. I think the same thing goes for you, is there's got to be something, that something happened somewhere, it feels like, because everyone else keeps popping up here and there, everybody. But why not, you? Why not Tara? What's the deal?
For me personally, and I made up this story, but I think that I've really taken such a step back in my personal life. I've had 3 kids. I haven't been present on social media like a lot of the other former wrestlers. Really dived into my personal life and raising these children, and now just going into where my career is going next. And that hasn't really been live on social media so much. So I think maybe just missing that connection of them. Who are you now? What are you doing now? What do you look like now? So it's just me kind of getting back into that present world. I've gone through many transitions recently and had some health issues lately. And so it's actually good that it's not my time right now, but I'm coming out of that. And so, maybe next year is the time when it happens.
I hope so. I hope you come back someday, because my wife shut my lights off and turned them back on. Good wife. I love my wife so much. Though I just think it's shocking that you bring it up. Maybe you weren't on social media, so people were like, not, oh, I see her all the time posting photos of her working out or being a mom or whatever. And I think it's a little shocking. We haven't seen it yet. I'm a little upset. But you did mention health being one of the reasons. It possibly could be a reason why you haven't been brought back. Now, what's going on with your health?
So a year and a half ago, COVID happened for everybody, and most people just were worried about getting sick from COVID. I personally didn't have that worry. I'm very health orientated, been running a chiropractic health organization for 20 years now. So the way we view health is very different from, say, the news and what they relay. But we had this transition we lived in LA for 23 years, and we decided that we were supposed to move to Texas. And this was not an easy transition. This is us. We were living the American dream, had a practice that was running beautifully. Kids were in their schools. Life was good. And I just knew that our next step in life, like our vision to serve, was supposed to be in here in Texas. So we sold everything. We moved my family of 5 and a big boxer into an RV. And then we're like, let's make this fun. And so we did 21 stops, all the way from California to Texas and national parks and exploring. But every week, my husband had to fly back to work. And so I would manage the kids and the dog. And it was wonderful to have this special time. But at the same time, I fell off my rituals a little, not really having my green shakes and drinking my water and, doing my exercise the way I would. And at 21, my body, I was in Colorado, Junction, Colorado, having a beautiful day. And I went to the mall. I wasn't feeling good. And I was like, I'm not feeling good. Maybe I need to have lunch. I haven't had lunch yet. So I get lunch for me and my kids, my 3 daughters, and we're sitting at a table, and I could just feel it like not going so good. And I was like, maybe it's blood sugar. I don't have any issues with blood sugar, medicines, but I know people say when their blood sugar is low, have some candy, right? So I'd say, go get me a candy out of the candy machine. And I just couldn't even eat it. And I saw this baker in a cupcake shop, and I just went straight to him and I said, is there a medic in the mall? I'm not okay. I have 3 kids. I'm in a strange place. I have no family, friends, and I'm not okay. Can you come help me? And he's like, I'll call security. I sat down, and before you know it, I'm on the ground, convulsing. I don't pass out, but I'm not conscious. Like, I can't open my eyes. I know where I am, but I can't see anything. And I just keep saying, I have 3 kids. I have 3 kids. And I hear this lady saying, I'm here. I'm watching your kids. 911 comes. I go to the hospital, run all the tests, x-rays, and they say, you had a panic attack. And I said, panic attack? For what? Like, I was having I wasn't worried about anything. I wasn't scared about anything, like why did I have that? And then what happened after that was the most shocking thing for me. I had an attack every single day for the next 4 months. I mean, every single day. And for people that don't know about this, it's basically like your body and your mind runs a marathon every time you have an attack. And so I was just beat to a pulp. And so I started, what's happening with me? I tried medications. That's not my first protocol, but I was like, I'm dying. Like, I'm not okay.
Right.
Those made me worse. And I was like, okay, so I tried a different one. And then I'm on supplements. And before you know it, I'm getting brain scans done to see what's going on in my brain. And we found out I hit rock bottom. I have a level 3 adrenal fatigue. I had no hormones in my body from the stress. It's basically, I was living in fight or flight for this entire journey. And to build that up, I can't replace my adrenals with a supplement if I have no hormones in my body. And if I take hormones, the stress eats it before it deposits into my body. So I've been on a vicious cycle for a year and a half. I mean, I couldn't take my kids to school. I take one to school, pull over, have to go through a panic attack to get my next kids to school. My husband was transitioning still. His work was in LA, so I'm full-time by myself, not feeling safe. And it has just worn me out. Like, talk about visiting the depths of hell and really mentally, like, not stable. I really had to go through that journey, which has been really tough. So for those of you that don't know, Steve has been asking for this interview for a really long time, and I really wanted to do it, but I didn't know how I could show up because I don't know when it's going to happen. I mean, it could happen.
Right. So the moving to Texas, I'm not a doctor, so this is just me talking. The move to Texas, maybe transitioning that quickly, your children pulled out of school as well, maybe everyone's stress somehow, you felt it and you got it more than the rest. I have no idea. Why was the move to Texas needed? It sounds like your husband was working, going back and forth.
Well, so COVID had hit, and at first I think it was like, oh, we get some time home. This is kind of fun, and then it got really pretty nasty, I think, on many different levels, and everybody felt it in different ways. I think the thing that the news doesn't tell you about is so many people suffered loneliness and loss and disconnection and fear and hate. I mean, I would be in LA, and if you didn't have a mask on for a second, I mean, people were hating on you and yelling on you. Yeah. So values became really a forefront for me. So I'm a crisis coach in my life now. And what I realized is my values don't line up with the values of where I'm at. And so I had homeschooled my kids for 2 years. I have 3 kids. Nice to try that, and quickly realizing I'm so grateful for teachers. Like, yes. That is not my dream, not my passion. I'm glad I got to do it, but I was like, I need to be in a place that supports my values. I don't want to get too political in this conversation, but I'm the kind of person, I have my beliefs and values. I expect you to respect them. You have yours, and I expect me to respect yours. Like, if I believe in this president, or taking the vaccine or not, or wearing a mask or not. And here, I feel like you're respected for your choices. And it was a thing that initially gave us this push to move. But the reality is, I just had a vision that we were meant to be here. Like, people say you get these visions. I think our service and our practice of healthcare and chiropractic and our life center that we're building here is to serve so many more people and just enjoy life a little bit more. LA is a lot about hustle and bustle, and I love that for 23 years. And I'm at a different phase in my life. Our values change and grow as we get older, right? And as you go through things. And this is just where we were meant to be. I didn't want to be retiring there and raising my kids there. It just wasn't meant for my family.
Of course. Yeah, I think you bring up politics for a quick second. The fact that now I think COVID and really 2020, really it's happened. It's never going to go away. Is no matter what you are in life, no matter what you do in life, it all comes. They'll choose who they like you based on politics. It doesn't matter what you've done and what you haven't done. If you find out one way or the other, they will like you or not like you based on just that one simple opinion. And now it's happened and it's never going to go away. Unfortunately, I feel like, so we're stuck in that world forever. So no one share anything about yourselves anymore to anyone unless they're your friend, because if they're not, they're going to get mad at you. But, I'm sorry to hear about this journey you've been on so far in the past year and a half. It does not sound like a good time. Me being a father of 3, you being a mother of 3, I can imagine the extra stress that goes into your brain because you're imagining, well, who's going to take care of my children? If if this happens to me worse, well, who's going to take care of my children? That's all I think about constantly now.
100%. And for me personally, my mother suffered with some anxiety, lived a different lifestyle than but she died at 51, and probably the hardest thing that I had ever went through in my life. So I'm like, you know what? I'm 44 and I don't want to leave my kids. So I got to learn something different. I got to break this generational curse of whatever's putting me in the fight or flight here. I got to change that. I got to figure this out for my kids so my kids have me longer. And when you have a panic attack, I've never had a heart attack, but I would envision it's something close to that, but you don't die. But you don't know that when you're in there. When you're in there, you're like, you feel like you're going to die. And to have that every single day repeating program in my mind, it's like, whoa, you got to get a grasp on that. And it's really, really difficult to find the tools and techniques that will help you get out of that. And I'm just getting out of it now.
Right. Again, the journey that you've been on, not a fun one, obviously, but hopefully at the end of this journey, sometimes people say, oh, you'll always learn a lesson from something. I don't know what the lesson is, but maybe you'll learn it in the future, and maybe you have and you don't even know. So it's crazy.
Because it's one of the things I always teach myself and teach others, and it follows this philosophy of a wrestling match. People can look at my matches and say she wasn't the best wrestler, she wasn't the best this, but one of the things I was the best at, I was the best at taking the heat. If I got to go with another girl, I could sell the shit out of whatever she did to me. Yeah. And that's what got me over. It wasn't because I was a high flyer or this or that. Maybe at first it was maybe being the model and the pretty, girl coming in. But I had to earn people knowing that I could take a beating and I could take a hit. And so what I teach people who are in a crisis, whether it's a health crisis, relationship, financial, is we got to fall in love with that. And so every day is so painful and I hate it when it happens, but I'm like, okay, I'm going to help millions of people get out of this. And I had this girlfriend, when I came out about it publicly, she said, I've been suffering for this for 20 years. And I've known her for 20 years. And I was shocked. I was like, how do I not know this about you? You're a close friend of mine. And in that moment, I knew that I would not suffer for this for 20 years because I won't live. I won't live for that. I don't know how she's lived. And that was a value and a standard that I made very clear that we're going to figure out how to get through this. And there's a lot of growth and a lot of lessons and a lot of gifts, but this is my journey to be of service to other people who are struggling with this right now.
Outstanding. Hopefully everyone can learn something from what you're doing and teaching, because that, again, what a whirlwind you've been on for the past year and a half. And, let's talk about the Divas Search, though, for a second. Now, this must have been a stressful time, talking about stress for a minute, because it's not like everyone's here like, oh, hey, everybody, what's going on? Oh, it's so good to see you. Everyone is fighting for a spot to get into this contract, to become part of the WWE. People always probably like, oh, was it fun? No, I can't imagine it being hell dealing with everyone trying to backstab, correct?
There is a lot of that. However, I came from Hollywood, so this was my job. Every day I went out for an audition. Sometimes I don't get it because they want a redhead or a blonde and I'm brunette. Sometimes I didn't nail the lines for something. Sometimes they want somebody taller or skinnier or fatter. I had come to terms in my life and being in that business, you got to be okay with rejection, and it's not personable. But this one was personable for me because I grew up watching wrestling. I mean, I watched it every Monday night with my stepdad, Ken, and I had a Hulk Hogan doll instead of a Barbie doll. And I went to the show and I high-fived the bushwhackers. So I was like, oh, this is coming full circle. Like when I watched it, they were like, I didn't know you could become them. I thought they were just like cartoon characters. They're superstars. They're that nobody can do that. So now I have this opportunity to be that. And I thought, I'm perfect for this. Like I'm athletic. I played basketball varsity 4 years. I did, boxing and mixed martial arts. I'm like, I got this. And then I didn't get it. And I was like, oh, that one hurt. It started leaving thinking, well, I'm perfect for this one. Like, it's not about my hair color or my looks or something. And so when I got that call a month later, got offered a 3-year contract, I realized, oh, I was not perfect to be the winner of the Divas Search, but I was perfect for this job.
True. That's a good point because, yeah, usually everyone who ended up winning, it didn't really like their first year was so pressured on being the winner of the Divas Search. So no matter if they were good or bad, they were going to be pressured and always the stamp. And everyone who came out of losing the Divas Search, it seemed pretty much everyone came out looking great. You, Michelle McCool, other people like that, but it happened. I guess Layla would be the only person who did win, and then actually, it took her a while to find the way. But like Lay Cool was a great run, though. That must have been pressure though. Once you won the women's championship from Melina at Vengeance, that did anyone look at it and go, "Oh, the person who was in the Divas Search contest who lost is now a women's champion"? Now, I didn't think that, but I'm imagining the other women who have been there much longer are thinking to themselves, well, "Why not me? Why her?"
The main person that thought that was Melina. She did not want this to happen, and she did not want to drop that title to me. Some came from Hollywood, and I understood it. She came up from wrestling and wrestling schools and doing indie shows, and to her, she put the work in more so than me in her mind. But she didn't see the work that I put in leaving Wisconsin and going to Hollywood and the auditions I did every day. It's the same thing, just from a different standpoint, right? And so her hating that so much was very difficult, yet it pushed me to be extra great because, there was times where we were going into that match, I legit didn't know if that was going to be a shoot match or we were going to have a match. Like I had no idea what we were going to do. And I didn't train in wrestling. So I was like, I don't know. We're going out there to fight. I just know I'm going out there. I have an opportunity to go out there. So we're going to see what happens. And we'd get out there and we put on one hell of a show. Yeah. And I was like, okay, the next one would come. And I'd be like, what are we going to do? And it was like, she wouldn't even talk to me. And I was like, so frustrated. I'm like, I want to give it my all and be my best. And I can't work with this girl. Yeah. And later on, what I just learned is that hate in that moment made me respect her because it pushed me. And so after the fact, years later, I just shook her hand and we're friends now. And I just said, you know what? Thank you for that. Because I'm not so sure I would have became the champion if you were nice to me back then.
Well, yeah, the pressure of being champion, and then you became the face of that brand for a very long time. Like anytime there was a singles match storyline or like we need a tag team match or 3-on-3, you were the center point and everyone else was put around you. But then you got injured in this Beth Phoenix match, and this injury looked horrible. It looked so painful. They even used that in the "do not try this at home" videos for years. Let's show Candice Michelle getting dropped on her collarbone and face over and over and over again and tell kids don't try this at home. What was that situation like? Because you were on the rise and this happens to you.
Yeah, this was, we had been on like a 2-week overseas tour. So most people don't know what leads up to a moment like this. And overseas tours are so fun and so wonderful, but you are grinding away. You work every night, you travel every day, you're on a different time zone. And so after our last one, we flew into Nebraska and we had this last match, and working with Beth was incredible. So this spot that was coming up, I was just beat. I was exhausted. And when I went to do the spot, my boot just caught that top rope a little bit. So I didn't make that full circle in. And as we all saw, I was knocked out. I don't remember anything till being on the stretcher. And Stephanie McMahon was looking at me. And she said, "Don't worry, we're flying your husband out." And I thought, well, that makes me worried because they don't fly anybody out for you,
Right.
trying to compute what had happened and where I am. And then I broke my collarbone, which I ended up shattering later on in another match, and had surgery. And I got a concussion. And the crazy thing is, I told you I just had brain scans done, and my concussion healed fine. I'm totally fine from that. But I have no blood flow in this area of my brain from that concussion. And I was like, wow, that is crazy. Like, I would have never known that. And it doesn't contribute to my health concerns, but I was like, something I should look at, right? Like, I can get some electromagnetic stim. I got to get some blood flowing to that area because there's nothing happening there right now. But a really scary thing, mostly because she pulled me to the center, and they thought maybe I was paralyzed because I landed on my neck there. So if I was paralyzed and she pulled me, it could have paralyzed me. But that moment, there was a huge plot twist in it, because I was just getting to the top, right? I was just getting recognized for my work, becoming a wrestler, acknowledged for that. I wasn't ready to quit. I mean, I had another 5-10 years that,
Right.
I wanted to be in that business. I loved it. But God had a special plan for me to be a mom. And I didn't know that, So like, I get released from the company shortly after that. And I was like, okay, is it time to have babies? And it just led into this next decade that I wouldn't have been able to choose on my own. So sometimes when these things happen that are terrible and suck, there's a plot twist in there where it's like, you know what, I got a beautiful family of 3 girls I never would have had if that moment didn't happen for me.
Wow. Again, the chapters of your book are still being written every day, and obviously sometimes twists and turns are, you seem that the darkest places are actually filled with a little bit of light, and then eventually grows, and here you are, a mom, 3 kids. That's amazing. That's amazing. That's a journey. That's a fun time to live. It's a good time. I love being a dad. Obviously you love being a mom, but there's so much more I want to talk about. But just like how I am a dad, I have to go pick up my daughter from school. I want to talk about the Super Bowl. I want to talk about GoDaddy. I want to talk about Playboy. I want to talk about CandiceMichelle.com. But right now, there's no time. So, folks, I have been Steve Ball. She is Candice Michelle. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.